Oh, I love a good stretch. But Brandon Howard from Baptist Milestone Wellness Center is going to teach us everything we need to know about stretching. And he's also going to help us out with something new, the milestone moment, but that's coming up later on in the segment. First and foremost, Brandon, welcome to the show. Since you are a certified personal trainer, I just have to say, can I give myself a little pat on the back? I have committed to working out and getting fit during all of this, and I'm doing it. I'm
Good,
doing it.
good, good. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's one of the best things that you can do during this time that we're in. So
And
congratulations for that.
the reason I bring that up, I mean, we have to give ourselves cheers. But one of the things about Baptist Health Milestone Wellness Center is the fact that people like you, professionals like you provide that cheering, that motivation, that inspiration for your members all the time on the regular.
Most definitely. Most definitely. It's one of the best parts of the job, for sure.
Okay, so something that is really important, because I mean, we talk about cardio all the time, we talk about strength training all the time, but something that's extremely important, especially I think we're more cognizant of it as we age, is flexibility and stretching. So let's start with this because I think we all think we know what it is, but what exactly is flexibility? And I'll do this twofold. What is it, and how do we improve it?
Oh, good questions. Very good question. So flexibility really is being able to move your joints and your muscles to a full range of motions. That's going up nice and tall. That's, stretching down, been touching your toes, things along those lines. Just really being able to go through a full range of motion with the least amount of pain. And so factors for that, when you're looking at flexibility, we tend to want to compare ourselves to a lot of people. So we look at gymnasts who are generally very flexible. We look at our yogis and our Pilates instructors. But flexibility really does vary based on the individual. Everybody's body is made different. So some people are going to be made a little bit more flexible. Some are going to be a little less flexible. That's going to go through gender. That's going to go through build. That's going to go through even genetics. So all of that is it varies. It definitely varies per the individual. But again, flexibility is something that is important to look at. Now, you also asked how.
Yes, that's important. How can we increase
Okay.
that?
So the easiest thing to do to increase your flexibility is to move, is to just be active. Our bodies, if we were to strip off the skin and you were just looking at muscle and bones and joints, you would see that our body is designed to move. And so when we don't do that, we're Netflix and chilling, when we're just hanging out, during these time periods, when we're just stuck at home watching TV, some of us are working at home a little bit more, we're sitting a whole lot. We're sitting in these hunched over positions. We're sitting, lounging around in chairs, and our body gets put in positions that it's not supposed to be in for those long periods of time. So the number one thing that you can do is to just move. It gets the blood flowing, it gets those muscles, figuratively speaking, loosened up a little bit. That's one of the best things that you can do. That's actually the first best thing that you can do. The next best thing, I know you all have talked about it at length, is strength training, lifting weights. That you may think, wow, that's not something that really makes sense. But if you think about it this way, stronger muscles are able to move through a wider range of motion a little bit easier. So strength training is a very integral part of actually our flexibility. And then, of course, you want to get some of your stretching in, some of your dynamic stretching, some of your dynamic warm-ups, and things along those lines. So it's really a 2 or 3 pronged approach when you're looking at your flexibility.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a few just very quick hit questions so you can kind of give us a yay or nay, because then I'm going to ask that you show us some stretches that we should all be doing. And we can get into the
Okay.
nitty gritty of this at another time on a different segment. Okay, true or false? Should you stretch before a workout?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a real good one. False. You should not. So there have been a couple of studies that have come out that have stated that stretching, especially the stretching that we normally think of, We're normally thinking of that static stretching where you're just dropping down, touching your toes, and holding that position. In some cases, that can actually decrease your performance. So instead of doing some of your static stretches before you exercise, you want to look at doing more so a dynamic warm up. That could be marching in place. That could be raising your arms up and down. That could be side leg raises and things along those lines. But you generally now it's pretty widely accepted that you don't necessarily need to or have to do those static stretches right before you work out. So great question.
Next question. This will be another quick hit one. When you stretch, do you actually lengthen your muscles?
No, I will say this temporarily, yes, you do. But our muscles are connected at fixed points. So if we're continuously stretching and making our muscles longer, that might jack up some things in our body. So you're generally going to stretch out some of the tissue. But what really happens is you're retraining your central nervous system. There is such a phrase called stretch tolerance, and our central nervous system kind of dictates how far that we can go. And so you're retraining yourself on just kind of those limits, but your muscles over the long term are not necessarily being lengthened or anything like that.
Okay, really quickly, Brandon, I have to tell you this. I'm about 5'3", and I know that because I'm 5'2" and 3/4 because my mom is 5'3", but I think we've kind of switched roles now. And as a young girl, I was this size in 5th grade, and I stretched my tail off just so I could get taller than her. It never happened to work. Okay, but here's something that I'd love for you to show us. What are some simple stretches that anyone can do? And especially for those of us, I mean, our Great Day Live community, whether we're sitting at home right now watching you or during a commercial break or during our regular, workouts, what are some stretches we can do?
Well, some of the awesome exercises that you can do and stretches that you can do kind of go through some of our vulnerable points. So for me, when I look at vulnerability, I look at joints like your shoulder. Our shoulders tend to be very vulnerable during this time. They're very unstable, able to move around quite a bit. So one thing that I really like to do with the shoulders is going up and then down. I'm still stretching out just a little bit, but I'm taking my shoulders, that whole joint and that shoulder girdle through an entire range of motion. So when I'm looking at doing these, 10, 20 of these just going up and down. Then, because I know my lower extremity is also going to be a little bit compromised because of all the sitting and things along those lines, I really like this exercise or stretch called the good morning, where you put your hands right here on your chest. You can use a dumbbell. You can also have a plate weight there, but you're going to stand and just hinge at your hips, down, and then come up. Down, and up there, yep. Gets those hamstrings, gets the lower back, gets the glute area just a little bit as well. You stay down there, you hover for a quick second, and then you pop right back up. It's a really good one. And a lot of individuals for the next one, they seem to have, weaker hip flexors. And I think that's a lot of times because we sit a little bit more. One of my oldies, but definitely a goodie, is just raising up and hold. Holding this position. A body at rest is going to stay at rest. A body in motion is going to stay at motion. So the more often that you do these, the more often your body's going to like it, the less pain you're going to have, the more flexibility that you're going to have, and it's a relaxing part of the day. We're so stressed out that you can definitely do some of these stretches, some of these exercises to kind of help you stress on.
I have to tell you, Brandon, I am proof a body at rest tends to stay at rest, but I am on a mission. Will you stick around just for a moment so we can have a quick milestone moment?
Sure.
Okay, fantastic. Baptist Health Milestone Wellness Center is located at 750 Cypress Station Drive in Louisville. They're open People like Brandon are there. You can go and see them. Visit baptistmilestone.com or call 502-896-3900.